Awesome. Thank you,
You
Jimmy.
want me to tell some stories about it? Stop. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. Good afternoon. I welcome y'all here this afternoon. As you said, I'm Jimmy Smith, my son Spencer. We're fourth and fifth generation farmers, and our actual operation started in 1913. We're out in western Oklahoma. We're right about halfway between Oklahoma City and Amarillo, Texas, right there on I-40 is kind of where we farm. And our operation has always pretty much been cotton. And we farm roughly 2,500 acres, and roughly 2,000 of it is in cotton. The other is in rye, and our rye, of course, is for our cover crop. And we do all no-till, and we do have a small cow-calf operation also. But get started here. I want to give y'all a little bit of information of how this thing has progressed throughout the years and the things that we have had to go through to get where we're at. But after I graduated high school, I went to college, got a degree, and I had to make a decision. Well, do I want to come back and farm, or do I want to get a job? Well, I came back and farmed, so I've told Jimmy this, I've never had a job. But I have worked a little. But when I did come back, it was back in the late 70s, and my dad and my granddad farmed cotton then, and of course back then, there was no such thing as no-till. It was all conventional till. But the one thing that they did back then that really nobody else did, they broadcast their cover crop into the cotton. So they broadcasted rye out there, usually about the first part of September. And of course back then they didn't think about soil health or organic matter. They only did it to keep the dadgum ground from blowing, because we got really sandy loam type soil even after harvest. With the stalk standing out there and you get kind of a hard rain, that stuff will blow like crazy. So they broadcasted it every year, and so you didn't have near the water runoff or the blowing issue. But and they also would graze it, after harvest. They would put some cows out there and graze the cover crop, which really helped them out. And what they would do is just leave that out there till the 1st of April. And it was always the 1st of April because back in the day, in our particular area, FSA, that was a legal deal. You could not plow the ground till April the 1st. So we'd come out there with the old moldboard plow. And our rye, oh my gosh, it'd be probably waist high, and you go out there with that moldboard plow and just plow it under. Of course, and back then we didn't think anything, well, was we gaining anything from that? Well, we were, and we didn't even know it. We was getting organic matter and soil health, throughout all these years, and they'd been doing that for years and years and years. So it has really helped us throughout the years that they did that. Of course,
Some of our cotton, how many years is it on cotton?
Oh yeah, that's another deal. You hear a lot about rotation. Well, see, out in our area, we don't have a lot of things that we can rotate. So some of our fields, I guarantee you, has been in cotton 30 plus years, back to back. And if we had not been doing cover crops, there's no way we could do that, because we have a lot of farmers right next to us that they have almost got to change every year or two, or they have no crop at all. But when we would moldboard this stuff, and it was a pain and I don't miss doing that at all. And then we'd have to go in there and probably plow it at least 2 to 3 more times before planting, because every time we get a little shower, we'd have to go out there, keep it from blowing, and plus after moldboarding it, we always thought, well, we got to pack the soil back down. Well, just think what we were getting, compacted soil, so it was not a good deal. And we did this until 1998. 1998 was the year they came out with Roundup Ready Cotton. And that was fantastic, because that's when we went to strip till. So we went to strip till. We still broadcast our rye cover crop out there. And it worked really, really well. And we did this for a lot of years, and then I got on the Soil Conservation Board, and I went to a jillion meetings, one of his or two, but I started learning about soil health and different things like that, and of course all the cover crops and stuff. I said, well, why are we strip tilling this stuff? Because when we would run that tractor through there, I mean, it just pulls so easy, so you know we don't have any compaction because we have a controlled traffic pattern. So let's just quit. So we just quit the strip till and went no-till. And that was when we did make a decision. Well, prior to that, while we were strip tilling, we were broadcasting the rye. Well, let's not do that anymore. So we built these interseeder drills. And of course, this was an old one back in the, do I need that closer? This was an old one we did back in the day, and as you can tell, it was pretty wore out when we made it, but it was an old 3-point tie grain drill. Of course, we had to modify it, and we ended up with putting 4 rows between our cotton. We have 40-inch row cotton. And of course, we had to build the fenders on here to try and do less damage to the crop as we go through it. And we try to do it the 1st of September because that's before we have any open bolls, so we're not doing any problems there. And often we're asked about, well, why don't you just wait till, after harvest? Well, there's still, some people do that, and here's the problem with doing that. You never know when after harvest is going to be. Like this year, we were stripping cotton in January because we'd had, 10 inches of rain back earlier and stuff, couldn't get in the field. So, and then again, you never know if you're going to have enough moisture out there to get the crop up. So that's the main reason that we do it in September. But
there's a picture of the rye.
Okay, this is one of our photos of our rye that's growing out there, and I tell you, it's just amazing how much it works for us. And one thing, when we do our controlled traffic deal, and we do go out there and shred the stalks, we normally wait till usually February before we shred our stalks. And the reason being we wait that late is we hope that maybe we get a snow. But guess what else we get out in western Oklahoma when we get a snow? The wind. So that way if we leave our stalks standing out there, it'll stop that snow so we get to keep the moisture versus blowing into the ditch. And that's worked really good for us. But when we do kill our cover crop, we normally try to wait till 6 to 8 weeks prior to planting. Reason so, if you kill that cover crop too early, that rye, it just disappears. You don't have nothing left out there for later on. So we wait till 6 to 8 weeks, and we like to get it when it's in the boot stage, because if we wait, it seems like if we wait too long when it starts heading out, it just uses more moisture, takes more moisture out of that soil. But we, as most of you know, we've been kind of in a drought situation, and it's been really tough for a lot of people. And we've had neighbors that were conventional, and the last few years they couldn't even get a crop. They couldn't even get a stand up. But as you see here, well, that's what we're planting into, and so we got a lot of cover there, and that holds that moisture so good when we do get the rains. It's worked out really well. We've even had neighbors that are still strip tilling, and it seems like if they wait too long to strip till, then they don't have the moisture there because if we don't get the rains, because they really need to strip till in February, but when they do it, that way hopefully we'll get the rain and they can get some more moisture back in that soil.
One thing that we've also seen is some guys, so we terminated that rye crop right there about, say, 3rd week of April. And what we've also seen is, in those years that there's a shortage of hay in the area, some farmers have resorted to baling that rye crop versus just terminating it and planting into it. So what we've seen on that, you take a significant hit on your cotton yield if you do bale it, just because it's basically it's an open straw on the ground, and so you're drying out. So and there's actually a test on a farm next to a farm, actually on this year's 24th crop, and you could tell visually how much difference there was.
Another thing that is really neat, since I did the conventional till forever and then went to no-till and even strip-till, was back in the day, our ground out there, we have a jillion terraces. I mean, we really do. And every time we get a rain, when it was conventional till, it would just seal that ground off, and that water runs to the terrace and into the waterway. And when it runs out the waterway into the ditch, guess what? Back then, it was solid red. So you know what that was. That was soil and soil health fertilizer, everything was just leaving us. When we went with the cover crops, now when it does run out, it doesn't run out as much, but when it does run out, it's just crystal clear. And another big deal about that, since out in western Oklahoma, we have a lot of flood control structures, and I'm on the conservation board, and this really helps not fill those things up like it used to, because back in the day, it was all conventional till, and a lot of these things have been, were built in the 60s, and a lot of them already need, redone because they have filled up with so much soil, and that's why. So nowadays, this no-till and cover crops is really going to help that situation out. It really is. Okay, there's one thing. Like when we kill our cover crop, it's usually, it's fairly good size. And lots of times when we get the high winds, it can blow and break that stalk over. So it crosses over our row. So that's the reason we do run a coulter out here and our trash whippers there to cut that stuff. That's one thing about it. Sometimes we want to start early in the morning when it's damp. That don't work. Instead of cutting the straw, it'll push the straw into the ground. So sometimes we do have to wait till it dries off before we can start planting. But it works really, really good, because when it's dry, it just cuts right through that straw, and all that straw is still kind of right there. So it works really, really well. Okay, this is a really good deal here. As you can see, this ground over there where the cotton's out near as big, it's still got straw there, but that was the previous year's cover. And what had happened, I don't know if it was my fault or Spencer's fault, but somebody run out of grain on the drill. And just look at the difference in the size of the cotton right there. That's just an amazing thing. It just held that moisture so much better. It really did. And you can see the height of the plant. Where was the other height? Yeah, quite a bit of difference there. It really was an amazing deal.
I think what had happened, thinking back on that, I think what had happened, so when we row drill that first week of September, roughly, is that farm, if I remember right, it's kind of up on a hill, and the cotton branches, we had a windstorm, and the cotton branches had all got tangled up, and we had actually tried going through it with the row drill, and we just felt that was doing too much damage, so we just stopped at one round, and then we just happened to notice the test there, and I believe it on the right. I think, didn't we sow that with the regular drill, the rest of it, because we came back after harvest, I think. So you can see the difference in the growth that you get on your cover crop from when you sow it in September versus waiting, say, till end of November to 1st of December.
Yeah. We're often asked about some of the problems that we face with our no-till situation, and I hate to say it, but when we first started this, it was so easy, because go out there with Roundup and it'd kill anything. Well, as most of y'all know, that's not the case in today's world. So we have to put a residual herbicide out there. And when we're putting a residual herbicide out there and our cover crop is fairly tall, it's really hard to get it to the ground. Luckily this year, we got done, and I think about 2 hours later, we got a good rain. So it put every a bit of it into the ground. So it really, really did help us. But that is one of the big issues.
Would you say that that residual saved us probably 2 trips over the top?
Oh,
maybe?
yeah. Oh, yeah. We didn't hardly have to do, yeah, we probably went one more trip over this year. Really did with the Roundup dicamba. But, a warrant.
Well, we started with
We used 2 different ones, really. What was it?
what was the other one? Is Valor?
Valor.
Did Valor first, and then Warrant, Paraquat.
We actually mixed the Valor with our Roundup when we killed our cover crop, and it was really cheap. It's a cheap deal.
Yeah, it
So,
wasn't better.
and then
Yeah,
went with the Warrant later on. Of course, we went with, right prior to plantings when we put the other residual out there, and I think we mixed it with probably Paraquat or something.
yeah, it was Paraquat.
Yeah.
This one's just a picture of. I just want to kind of, so we're on 40-inch row spacing. You can see that cover crop, how much it's already started to erode. Especially as the sprayer travels through the field, and you're smashing everything down. But it amazes me how fast it actually goes away. When you're killing it, you think you're like, oh gosh, there's too much out there. I need to kill it early, but we often wait just a little bit longer because it just disappears so fast. So that right there, that's just a picture of showing cover crop that was sowed into the cotton about that first week of September. That's kind of our rule of thumb. And so when we're actually harvesting, you're already harvesting on top of an established crop. And we have a few pictures here to show you that.
What's your plant date?
Plant date on cotton? It's usually about
At least the 15th of May till first part of June. We just more or less we do it when we got the moisture. That's when we have to do it.
Yeah, so for us, we used to kind of always go off of soil temperature, and it seems like anymore we've kind of changed our way of thinking, and we're going more towards the moisture in the soil versus worrying about the soil temperature as much. And I think that's actually helped us out in our stands and producing a crop.
Often we're asked about, well, what about all the chemical costs with no-till? Well, here's the thing. As far as cotton is concerned, well, in today's world, everybody's putting a residual herbicide out there, whether you're conventional or whatever. But the thing about cotton is, well, yeah, if you're conventional tillage, you can go out there and, of course, run the rotary hoe and cultivate it. But guess what? What's going to get the weeds in the middle of the row? Well, back in the day when we were conventional, of course, we hired Jimmy Emmons to come out there and hoe it. But I'll tell you, he won't do it anymore. But so really, there's not a whole lot of difference in those costs as far as the chemical is concerned. And we're often asked about, well, why do you use rye? Because we're very fortunate. We don't have a lot of wheat guys right next to us because they don't like it. But why do you use rye, and why don't you use multi-species of cover? Well, the reason we don't is because we have not found a good species that can, when we do it, say second week of September, well, guess what we do the middle of October? Defoliate. We're going to kill whatever other, cover crop is out there, so it's just not worth the expense of doing. So, and we're limited on what we can defoliate with, that the rye can handle. But
yeah, usually like on our defoliation, most of the time it takes 2 passes just to make sure we get all the leaves. First pass will be ETX and a shot of Bold D, and then usually just one more shot of ETX.
Yeah. One other thing here, as far as problems that we've had throughout the years, and this started pretty much year one when we went no-till, because when we shred those stalks, You know, they're 5, 6 inches tall, and they're a tough son of a guns, and they would just kind of chew up our gauge wheel tires on our planter, and we was having to replace them at least every other year, and that is no fun at all because a lot of bolts in that thing and having to take them apart, a lot of time-consuming deal. So we got together with another farmer. He's passed away, unfortunately, but we got together, and we have a good friend that was a machinist, and so we designed a tire, a gauge wheel tire that would made out of material that would last forever. And so that's what we did. And all this picture's up there. This is kind of back in the day, you know.
So that was the last year that we ran the 2-row cotton stripper.
Yeah. You know,
And
yeah.
Could you explain that you plant in the same row?
yes. So, yes, we do. So, like on back when that previous picture with where we had the coulter out front with the row cleaners. One reason why I like running a coulter out front is we do like to plant right back in the same row, and with that way that coulter's either going to throw that stalk to the left or stalk to the right, and then that'll allow the row cleaner to do its job. And we've had really, I've had some guys that scoot over. We've had really good luck with just planting right back in the same spot. And so this next one will probably looks familiar to if you're a no-till guy, tore up gauge wheel tires. And so that's what we were running into whenever we started going to no-till. I would way rather tear up these tires than my tractor tires or sprayer tires. And so with that tire right there, it's obviously wore out. It's got damage on the lip that runs next to your disc. And what that's going to do is when you're planting, it's going to toss that dry soil right into your seed trench. So now you may have spots of, inconsistent germination. And not only that, but when the tire splits like that, you're going to fill up with dirt. It may cause a hard spot when you're going around. It may cause like a bumping motion of the planter, allow your seed to bounce out. So here's this kind of photo, one running through the field of the planter running through the field. And you can see right there how much dirt is actually being thrown in that area. And that's why it's good to have a solid seal next to that disc. So in 2011, we thrashed tires. It's like a really dry winter. And I guess it had been the 2010 year. So in 2011, we were trying to get the planter ready, and we're changing tires, and we went to the machinist, like my dad said, and we found a material, and that we ordered in a bunch of rough stock and started sawing and machining these tires out. And as time went on, and people started asking about them, and then that's how the business 4Ag got started. And now we're injection molding tires and for planters and air seeders, and then we also are fully assembled closing wheel as well. So being in cotton, one thing that I can never find a closing wheel that I liked. I don't want anything that's in our area. I don't want anything that's going to pierce the sidewall, because with the wind, we always dry out too fast, and with us being a little sandier too. So what we did is we wanted just some fingers basically to interlock each other and just kind of pinch the soil like your traditional OEM gauge wheel would, or closing wheel would. But we wanted those tillers to just kind of softly till the soil, so eliminate baking. So then we built our own at the machine shop to prototype, and everything worked out good. So that old row drill is, we finally retired it. It was time. We got tired of working on it, and so we went to the shop, and we decided to start drawing up a row drill, because there's nobody that you can purchase one from. So this is a 12-row 40. It's got we're running Great Plains HD openers, putting 4 per middle. And then also we have poly fenders, so that way, like if you know you hit a terrace or anything, they go right. They have memory. They go right back. You don't have to worry about them getting bent. We're running a 60 bushel air box with John Deere rate controller, and we put about our seed rate on that's probably about a bushel an acre.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you know that works out pretty good. So like he mentioned cows, you know, like on these fields that we harvest the cotton off of, we have a pretty good stand, you know, once that cotton's off, and we've been hot wiring around those cotton fields, and you know, like right now, like this year's pretty dry, so you figure on, say, I don't know, 44 old cows, like on 150 acres. That's about what you can get by with, and that's not putting any additional fertilizer on top of that rye.
And one other good thing about grazing this is, you know, when you harvest cotton, you're always going to have some cotton on the ground. Well, those cows, once they learn what it is, they love it, and they will eat that stuff, and that way you don't have, you know, cotton coming up,
Helps with
volunteer cotton for next year.
Yeah, it really helps with the volunteer problem
Really
that we were
does.
having year after year.
We even had, what was it, 2 years ago, we had to destroy several acres, well, probably 300 acres of cotton because of a hailstorm. Well, you know what that put on the ground, so we grazed the heck out of it, and the cows did a heck of a job cleaning it up. They
Yeah.
really did.
So here's a picture of the wing. So you got your main bar, and you got a wing on each side, and that way you can kind of see the spacing. You're running about 3 foot. Your bar runs about 3 foot off the ground to give you enough height for your plant. Your middles, you're about 14 inches in the middle between the fenders for your plant to go through. You know, whenever we started doing that, I was like, oh, we're going to tear up too much cotton. Just don't look back, you know, just seeing the bolls on the ground or anything. And, you know, it's all about the fenders. So on these fenders, they have lines in them. So as you go through there, it's like a shelf. So that bowl kind of has a shelf for it to set on as you're going through. So that way it's not, you know, if it was just flat, it's going to go through and start dragging it down with gravity. And we've had really good luck with them. And shoot, I don't know, it's to the point like neighbors are calling, you know, like guys that have cotton fields that are fenced. They've seen the growth that we get before they do because they're waiting until after the fact. And
I guess we've built 3 of these.
yeah, 3 so far. And there's just a picture of a cotton field there. And if anybody has any questions, or
I do a little bit, one other thing, some of the really good advantages that we have had with no-till and cover crops is, of course, number one is the soil health. I tell you what, you know, it doesn't blow, it doesn't wash away, and we've really increased our organic matter. And actually, we've lowered our cost per acre so much versus conventional till. We figure roughly, time you figure it in, probably $45 to $50 an acre less as far as input cost. And that doesn't even include cost of equipment. And y'all know what cost of equipment is today. And plus, time. There's so much we can get. I mean, when you got a big sprayer, you get over 100 acres an hour. Well, you can't do that with cultivator. Sorry. But and we are using less fertilizer than we would have to if we were conventional till. And another big thing, and Jimmy's been out to our place before, and he'd go out there and dig in the ground with his shovel and bring up, and I mean, just solid earthworms everywhere. It's just amazing. Of course, and he always smells of it. He knows how to smell good ground. But I'll tell you, we've really glad that we went that route, because I would not want to go back to conventional till. No way.
And I do. And one thing I like is, you know, we don't plan to run cows every year, but with the way cotton prices were, you know, this year we've made that choice to go ahead and push some old cows, and just to make like an extra income off of what we're already doing. Because I do think you could push it too hard, you know, and start getting compaction issues. I do have a question. Does anybody in here own a Salford Airway? Or seen one? You've seen one? Okay. That was one thing that I've wondered about. You know, like say if you were going to get into a cotton and then graze the cotton on your no-till, and then say you were to run that Salford Airway across, you know, if that would that'd help open it up to help with any like where the cattle have made their traffic patterns.
Early in our years of no-till, we used it for just that reason. And we found it was a whole lot easier just to, we have sequestering areas that we planted to Bermuda. So I'm not a big fan of Bermuda. I'm really not, unless you got a lot of clover growing in it. But we would use that to try to recondition fields, and we found it's better to manage around that. We don't have it anymore.
Okay.
Jacob's probably never seen it. Of course, he's never seen tillage on any of our stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to plow if somebody told me to plow a field.
Really, you don't know what a mowboard is.
No. Thankful for that.
One thing that we do occasionally, as far as compaction, of course, you know, the turn rows, you always get a little bit of compaction, especially like that's where you stack your round bales, and you have to have semis come in there and everything else. So occasionally we will come in there and strip till the turn rows, but that's really about it. Only time we ever strip till is those.
Yeah, I mean, and we have not seen, like even in those high compaction areas, I wouldn't say that we've seen a decrease in cotton
No.
due to, you know, being compacted.
Yeah.
So how much have you grown your soil organic matter since you started?
It's amazing. Of course, we are out there in western Oklahoma.
We're sandy.
The sandy loam soil, you know, our organic matter is never as good as your clay type soils and everything. And I think out there in our area, the conventional till guys are probably less than 0.5%. We're at least 3 to 4 times higher than that. It's just amazing. It really is. And it's just amazing how much that stuff holds the moisture under the ground and everything. It's really, really great.
I mean, I think a huge benefit of it too is when my granddad and them, they were mowboarding all that residue under the ground back in the day. I mean, I think that definitely helps with on the ground the ground that we farm that's been in our care forever. You can definitely tell the difference versus the farms that say we've started farming in the last 4 years.
It almost seems like it takes about 3 years to get above,
Yeah.
you know, where you normally would be with conventional.
Yeah, I'd say at least that because for instance, there's this one farm. It had been, I would say, neglected, plowed, it blow to where you couldn't see nothing. I mean, and I would say that we went in there and we just did kind of a fine plowing over it to smooth it up. And then we sowed it solid at an angle, just trying to get it back. And then it took, was this the 4th year?
Probably.
This was the 4th year, and it was unreal how many pounds of cotton it
Yeah.
made.
Yeah, when we first did that, we said, gosh, should we really have rented this ground?
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but we got caught up. We sure
Finally,
did this
finally.
year, for sure.
But yes, sir.
Have you considered not using Roundup seed this coming year? And secondly, have you ever spread your rye?
Okay, I haven't considered not using Roundup seed. So on the spreading of the rye, one thing we did, so before we built the new drills, there was a year that the cotton was just, it got away from us. It was huge. You couldn't even see the middle, and I wasn't about to try to drag that row drill down through it. So what we did, we bought it's like a row crop spreader, pull type, and you could set the fan to spread about I think 40 foot. So, and we did do that. That works out okay for the first year on rye. On wheat, it did not work so well. And then, but what happens is on the next year, you really want to sow it on the next year because the previous year is what held that seed in the certain spots instead of it all just going to the middle when you got a big rain.
And lots of times, you know, cotton, it's a really healthy plant once it comes up. But lots of times it's pretty tough to come up. And lots of times when you broadcast, you don't have an even stand out there at all. And sometimes you'd have like one plant off the row, one plant in the row, and say that gauge wheel runs over that plant and raises it up, and it changes your seed depth maybe 1/4 of an inch or so, which isn't a good deal because you just never know. 9 times out of 10, we don't have a whole lot of moisture to deal with. So, but that's the problem we ran through with broadcast.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Yep.
One, are you regulated to the point where you have to shred your stalks? Because we never shred stalks. So why do you shred stalks?
Probably mainly on harvest, because lots of times those stalks, if they're right there, will get crossways in your row units and messes up. That's the issue we've had, because we farm right there in town in Elk City, and so we always leave 12 rows next to the road because trash, because that catches the trash. Of course, we always pick the trash up before we harvest, and sometimes we do just don't shred those and then plant right back into it. And some of them, when you plant, it breaks them off, and some it doesn't. But we have had a little bit of some issues with it blocking the rows, getting caught up in there.
And I will say, if I'm going to run cows on them, I do like them shredded, just in case, just to protect their eyes, just in case. But
No, we offset. We offset.
Oh, you offset yours?
And I've been told that we could have a potential problem with some of those previous year stalks getting into next year's bales. Never happened. It just breaks down so much right at the base, those all fall over.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What type of planter attachment are you running out front? Like whenever you're going, just running your seed discs.
Zero. I don't
Really?
like road cleaners. I don't like
Yeah.
filters.
Okay.
But my other question would be, I see that you terminate, you said like 6 weeks ahead of planting.
Mm-hmm.
We've done both. We've done where we planted green. And I love that you're harvesting green. I believe that harvesting green is more important than planting.
I think so too.
I really do. I think that's amazing. I love that.
It's a really nice mindset whenever you're out there harvesting and it's already green out there. I mean, I don't know, just mentally, I don't know. It does a lot for you because I mean,
You got really wet. How much do you think it helped offset potential compaction because you had green living roots?
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Compaction becomes a small thing.
Oh, yeah. Because we have
They're heavy.
Yes.
we have a lot of terrace channels, and a lot of them, some of them hold water and stuff. So but when we have that cover crop out there, it disappears in a hurry.
Disappears a lot
It
faster.
really does.
Yeah.
Do you think it helps the cotton quality, keeping the dust and stuff down in harvest too? In planting green versus the way we used to?
It probably does some, don't you
Probably
think?
does some. I do try. One thing that it has not been a problem for us, but one thing to keep in mind is when you're harvesting on green is you want to make sure you run just a little bit higher and you don't get green residue in your cotton. But we haven't had trouble with
No,
that
we haven't.
that I know of. So
Have you looked at running something besides just straight rye, or are your hands tied because of the foliage?
hands are tied because of the defoliation.
Yeah, because it's we hate to spend that much money and then it comes up and then kill it a week later.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, you said excuse me, you just didn't.
That's fine.
No.
It's just amazing how times have changed throughout the years. It's just crazy. Like you've seen our 283 cotton stripper a while ago, and gosh, how we used to run it, and then we went to the round bale cotton stripper, and used to when we was doing the modules, we had to have 7 people there and running 7 pieces of equipment. Now 1. It just made a world of difference. And now that we have a round bale stripper, if the humidity's right, we run 24 hours a day. I run it during the day, and he runs it at night. But I know it was a tough decision for us to ever make, to spend that kind of money on one. But it was weird when it happened. we have our local John Deere dealer.
That's when they first came out.
When they first come out, you had to order them a year in advance. Well, we didn't order one, but somebody out in Texas had ordered one, but he lost his crop, so he didn't want it. So they said, well, this was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, says, we can offer this to you, but you got to let us know by 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't sleep well that night, but I'll tell you, but I'm glad we did.
Yep.
I really am. Any more questions?
So you prefer the stripper, I guess, over a picker? Is that
Yeah. It's more of the ground. We're pretty. We have a lot of terraces, so that's why we want to. We're running a tilt. We're running the tilter head on the cotton stripper too, so just so we can go over them better.
And of course, out in our area, you know, we only get probably maybe 19 inches of rain a year, maybe, you know, and sometimes it's all at once. But so our cotton lots of times isn't as real big to, you know, what the pickers need. Really isn't.
Yes, sir.
What's the interest and receptivity from the neighbors like seeing you guys harvesting these crops each year? And is it starting to change how neighbors might be doing their own farming?
Yeah, I would say so. I've noticed some neighbors running over there and taking pictures of the road drill when we're not around.
Yeah.
So
And we've even, well, like this year, we custom did road drilling for what, I don't know, probably 500 acres for a guy.
Oh my gosh, it was
Yeah.
a lot. It
Yeah.
seemed like we weren't ever going to get done.
Yeah.
The guys just kept calling and be like, "Hey, will you go over there and knock that out?" And so I mean, I definitely think there's more people starting to go that direction, for sure.
Yeah.
Because so back in the day, like that old road drill, there was probably like a handful that built them around there.
Probably.
Yeah, and then it just seemed like I mean it's worked really well. I mean, other than the fact that the drills they wear out and they're a piece of junk, you know, and then that's whenever ours wore out, I finally had enough on it, messing with the chains and stuff. So we went all hydraulic drive on everything, and
plus the older drills, you know, you didn't have the good down pressure that you
Yeah.
do with these new drills, the Great Plains. You know, remember you had the strings on the shaft. Well, I just didn't get it in the ground because lots of times in 1st September, we don't have a lot of moisture there. In fact,
well, we would rather it not be moisture
Right.
when we road drill, just to let the seed just lay there.
yeah, because in past, if we do go out there and sow it when it's got some moisture out there, say not a lot of moisture, and it sprouts and comes up, we'll see that cotton's still sucking that moisture away from it. And sometimes with that rye being in the shade and stuff, it'll just die.
Yeah, it can.
We have had that happen.
Very rare, very
Yeah,
rare.
very rare.
So,
But
yeah.
Has anybody played around with going in instead of interseeding rye, interseeding wheat?
oh yeah,
Yeah, and that's working good. You don't have, you won't have near the, you know, you just don't have near the growth as like the rye does. But like our neighbors that we interseeded for, we did wheat on his, and he's been running calves ever since he pulled the cotton off. I don't know if Jason's going to.
I
or
don't
not.
know. He is grazing it. That was I think that was
his main
big
intent.
deal. Yeah, he was wanting to graze
That was
it.
his main intent.
But the one thing to think about that I've tried to tell some of these wheat guys this, that, you know, rye gets a lot taller than wheat does. Well, guess what else is below the soil? More roots. So we've always done rye.
I was just thinking that's a cash crop.
Yeah,
Right,
but you
right.
can. Oh yeah, you can.
So we have had a farm where we didn't plant cotton back into it. We decided to leave that row drilled farm, and we harvested that rye. And I don't remember how many bushels it made.
I think you know, it wasn't fantastic, but we still probably made 20 bushel or so.
Yeah.
You know, you just never know.
So back to his termination question a while ago, and Danny Davis, we worked together there for a while when Ray come out, Archuleta. And Danny had an aha moment and he wasn't terminating all his acres at that time. Danny was, you know, defoliating about a third, then waiting a few weeks, defoliate the
Oh, yeah.
second third, and
Right.
then letting the frost and freeze, you know, defoliate the third. And that's where he thought he was gonna be able to add multiple species in there. Of course, then, you know, Danny passed away of a heart attack
Yeah.
and didn't get that.
It could be, you person could do that because you do need to spread out your harvest along the line, and we probably should have done that this year because we ended up not defoliating probably, what,
Oh, yeah.
300 acres this
Yeah,
year
or
because
more,
of that.
yeah.
So yeah, we could have. But it's just never hard to know.
We raise our own rye, and then we had 4 or 5 species containing mix-in with it.
Mhm.
We do that every year on everything. Some years, living as far north as we are, it'll all be terminated through frost. So it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Great. And it's worth a $4 or $5 an acre risk to me to go ahead and have some of those acres make it.
Mhm.
And I know that Brian likes it. Brian Burns, right here. There he is. That's where we buy all of it, and then we mix it with our rye
Hmm.
that we raise.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Cool. Thank y'all
I
for
guess
having
we're
us.
done. Thank y'all.